The city of Oxburgh has grown from a tiny little hamlet to a city of about 25,000 people, and traffic is starting to be a big concern. That is why in today's episode we're going to be implementing some traffic fixes to alleviate some of the congestion coming into the various entrances of the city. I'm Tim Eister, thanks for tuning in, sit back and enjoy everybody. Now the first traffic fix we're going to be implementing here today is on the west end of the city, just near Hillside, where we have two major national roads that intersect here. And the issue is we have traffic from these two roads that are having to come to a stop at a traffic light, and they get funneled into one end of the city. And there's no way around the city from this entry point. So any traffic that may just want to be passing through, going to the other edge of the city or, anywhere else in town, they have no choice but to drive right through downtown, and it's just causing a lot of unnecessary traffic. So that is why we're going to start things off by building a neat little interchange here just near the edge of the city. However, this stretch of road is not actually going to be classified as a true highway. What I have envisioned for this stretch of road is something like the Pacific Highway in San Diego, which formerly was a part of US Route 101 and predates the entire interstate system that now replaces it. So we have Interstate 5, which runs parallel to the Pacific Highway. And I was recently in San Diego and I had the opportunity to drive on this stretch of road, and I was kind of perplexed, like, why does this exist? And it just seemed kind of out of place and random. But then it wasn't until I got back to my hotel and researched it a little bit where it all made sense afterwards. So this is where the inspiration for this road comes from. It's simply going to be a divided highway for a portion of its length following the side of the bay, but running parallel to it is going to be a future highway that is going to support far more traffic than this is capable of. But nonetheless, the current purpose of this road is to better divide the traffic coming into town. So we'll have a much higher capacity than the little interchange we had before. We'll have no stoplights or anything like that impeding traffic. So hopefully this will all work out. We'll see a little bit later on in this episode how this interchange is going to function. Sometimes you just don't know until you hit play and you let everything play out. So the first portion of this episode is going to be in time-lapse mode, and we're going to be switching back and forth from time-lapse mode and live play in this episode as I go over different things throughout this episode. For the first half of it is going to be various traffic fixes all around town, and to conclude things, we are going to be finally getting into some public transit for the city. I think the city is at the size where we should start to consider adding some public transit, such as buses, and it's going to be a full packed episode full of really interesting stuff. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully you will enjoy the episode. Okay, so we finished this beautiful little interchange here, looking wonderful, and it seems to be operating normally. I haven't really tested it too much, but I have a feeling that instead of the problem being over here, we may have just pushed it a little bit farther down the line on Poplar Street over here. But we'll just have to see as time goes on how this little interchange is going to function. Now, the next part of this build is we need to deal with this stretch of road here, the Aspen Highway. It's been named. Now, I don't really feel like this should be a stretch of highway at all, because the problem is it's just so close to town. I feel like this road would be better suited as just another regular road with businesses and homes alongside it. So what I want to do is just create a simple bypass road connecting this stretch here to this stretch here. So we're simply going to create a little bit of a bypass, and this long stretch of road will then be able to accommodate businesses and homes directly adjacent to it. So this really shouldn't be too complicated. Let's go into our highway menu. I'm just going to build this as a simple 2-lane road, and then let's enable our topographic lines. And I'm just going to pause the game real quick because I'm going to have to completely detach this. And let's get this started. So now this stretch of road will go over in this direction. We'll kind of try to respect the topography as much as we can as we swoop our way through the mountainside. How am I going to detour this mountain? Let's do kind of like this, and then this, and then this. I think that should be okay. Let's just make sure that there's not any like crazy slopes anywhere. Yeah, I think that's okay. It looks all right. Now this is pretty windy for a highway, but I'm telling myself this may have been like an old US route kind of highway. You know, they tended to be a little bit more windy than your average interstate. So we're gonna go with that. And then I'm just gonna build a simple T-junction, just like so. And actually, I'm gonna go a step further and actually convert this entire stretch of highway into a proper road, so then we can zone alongside this street. And then the very last thing that I must do here is delete this little segment of road, and then we're gonna hook this up to our main highway. Now I could convert this into a 4-lane road, I suppose, maybe for just part of this stretch, maybe not the whole length, but if I were to maybe convert up to like here into a 4-lane, because I have a little bit of a plan here going forward, and then I'll just convert this into 4 lanes. And let's make a little minor adjustment here. Just gonna have this 3-lane road continue a little bit farther so that we can have a proper intersection here. So we're gonna make sure that's at 180 degrees, and then let's do 90 degrees like this, and then we'll hook this up just like so. And then for whatever is going to go up this street in the future, we'll turn our make our turning lanes go in the right direction. And there we have it. We have a fully functional stretch of road. Very fitting. Hillside Street. Very nice. And then what I had planned for here, so we have Orchard Street, which is an overpass above Franklin Street, as well as our rail line over this little stream, and then over Hillside. But I would like to intersect this overpass with Hillside Street. So what I'm going to do here is build a divided avenue just like this, and then I'm going to enable my topographic lines, and then we're going to make our way kind of up this hill just like so. And then I guess I'm just gonna connect this directly with our road here, but it looks like the terrain is not really playing very nice. I'm gonna have to flatten this out. Let's go down to like maybe 40 meters. Let's do something like this. There. I kind of lucked out there. Just got the terrain to get very smooth. And there we go. Look at that. We even have like a nice little wall on the side of the mountain, which looks pretty cool. And might as well beautify this up. Let's get a nice wide grass avenue in the middle here. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, that definitely looks a little better. And then here, I can go ahead and make like a 3-lane road, perhaps. I think I'm gonna center this a little bit more. This little stretch of road. This is just like my OCD talking. But if I turn off snapping, we're just able to center this road perfectly. And there we go, guys. Oh, let me just smooth this stretch of road up a little bit. There we go. There, just to get rid of the trees. Awesome. All right, so maybe on this block we'll have like a little commercial center. Let's get started on that, shall we? Let's hit play just to get things going, and then we'll have some little shops. Ooh, but it looks like the terrain is not quite right. I'm just gonna flatten this out. I feel like in real life that wouldn't be a very difficult thing to do, you know? There. And then we'll line this street with some small commercial shops, just like so. And then I'm gonna build a little dirt path just to block the zones from appearing alongside our avenue here. I don't necessarily want there to be anything alongside this road. It's really just to serve as a connector. But we'll have some little desire paths going out back, just like so. And then let's go ahead and have some nice commercial businesses alongside this main road. There we go. All right. Perfect. And as we're completing all of these quite, I would say, major infrastructure projects, look at our residential demand. Holy boys. Okay. So now we're really ready to get started on expanding the city. Now I have a few choices here. I could start expanding outwards, but I really have to pay attention to downtown because it is not really looking up to par. I'll admit, guys, I've gotten a few angry comments, and rightly so. This is really not my best work. This was all like placeholder, temporary, but I got to get to it eventually. Now for this next bit, we're going to head to the total opposite side of Hillside, to this junction over here. Now this junction has always been a pain point. Even when the city was half the size, this was a problem. Traffic is constantly getting backed up. And the solution is actually not going to be that complicated. So first we need to determine what is the cause of this problem. So if we zoom out here, we can see that we have 3 road connections total on this map. So we have this one connection over here, we have this other one in the middle, and then we have this one on the left here. Now these 2 connections on the left both funnel into this brand new interchange that we've just built. But this third one over here on the right, this one is totally independent. And if we follow this squiggly road all the way to town, it leads straight into downtown alongside this main avenue here. That means any of the traffic that's coming in from these 2 leftmost connections needs to drive all the way through Hillside, wiggle their way all through downtown to then join up this road here and vice versa. Now, I'm pretty confident that we can maybe solve a lot of this traffic if we were just to bridge a connection between these 2 highways. So that'll save a lot of traffic from having to go through downtown, and hopefully it is going to fix a lot of our problems that we're seeing in the city right now. Now I think there's probably still going to be traffic at this junction because it's still going to exist, but I think there are ways that we can improve this by just extending this road a little bit further. And we're basically going to upgrade this little street here, whatever you want to call it, this little alleyway. Oh, actually, I think I'm probably better off just demolishing it completely. All right, so I've noticed a new problem. I mean, there's an accident here, so that's probably not helping, but it appears that traffic is pooling up right here. And I've attributed that to people who are crossing the street, because this is a really, really busy intersection. For whatever reason, a lot of people choose to walk in Oxburgh, which is kind of a good thing. But a lot of people are crossing the street at this intersection, and it is just completely backing up traffic. So what I'm gonna do to temporarily fix this, I guess, this is a rather simple solution. I'm gonna just draw a path by turning on anarchy. We're gonna turn off snapping, and then I'm gonna draw a path from here right down to the bottom of this bridge. And then I guess just to make it slightly easier, I'll just draw a quick path like this. And that will make it so people can actually cross the street by going under it. Now, unfortunately, that's going to require a little bit of backtracking, but I think that is greatly going to improve traffic. So I'm now going to remove the crosswalk over here, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. So then hopefully that is going to improve traffic. And we'll just have to see how this is going to operate. So we'll let all of these folks find a new path. And looks like there's one person using the path already, although maybe he was just kind of straddling along the river there. But maybe we're already starting to get some people going down onto the path. Yeah, look at that. It looks like it's already working. Awesome. Now, I am going to keep this crosswalk because people going to and from downtown should be able to move freely. It's just, you know, crossing the street is not really going to be permitted at this intersection. Maybe we'll come up with something a little more intricate than that, but I don't have a ton of room to play with, so we're just going to have to leave it at that. But in addition to these small modifications, there is something that I'm sure is going to make an even bigger impact to the city's traffic. And that is, I would like to spend some time investing in a bus network. I have some money in the bank, and we're making a pretty healthy amount, so I don't see any reason to postpone building a bus network. So we can both afford the upfront cost of a bus network, and I'm pretty confident we can afford the entire system, you know, the monthly cost of such a system. So the very first challenge of this is going to be plopping a bus depot. Now, I've kind of planned this out already. My long-term goal for Hamilton is I don't want this to be as industrious as it is. You know, we have all these smokestacks, we have all this pollution billowing out. I would rather this area be, first of all, a lot more cleaner, but I would rather this area be concentrated with civic buildings, such as, you know, our water treatment plant, our soon-to-be bus depot, and, you know, various other things that go into operating a city. So that is going to mean we're going to relocate a lot of these industries. So I'm going to start by pausing the game because this is going to be quite a large infrastructure project. So I'm going to select my bus depot, and what I'm thinking is I'm going to build it along this little Kent lane here. And if I plop it right about here, I think that should fit quite nicely. And now you're probably wondering, like, how am I going to fit this here? Well, this is where our infrastructure relocation project is going to come in. So it should be fairly straightforward, I think. If I remove this stretch of road, and then we're going to redraw the same road, but I'm just going to scooch things over a little bit more towards this way. So I think if I just stretch out this road over here, maybe if I turn off anarchy, yeah, there we go. And then I'll curve this road just like so. And then we'll connect this back together just like this. And then I think that should give me enough room to then go ahead and plop my bus depot. And look at that. Absolutely perfect. Oh, overlapping items. What is overlapping? Okay, let's just go ahead and remove all of this industry. Okay. What does it not like? Oh. Okay, well, it's not happy about something. For some reason, I'm not able to plop it right here. I was hoping to kind of save a little bit of space. Maybe if I try doing this, if I build a kind of wall here. If I do that, and then I'll go ahead and flatten the terrain. There, and that is going to afford me a little bit extra space to where, will it let me build my bus depot? No, it won't, but you know what? We're gonna force it. We're gonna use anarchy. There we go. And then we're just gonna simply connect this all back up to the main road. There we go, just like that. And, uh-oh, did I have some underground lines? It appears I did. But I don't really think this is necessary anymore at this point because... Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, it kind of is. Here. I'll just go ahead and make sure that this is hooked up properly. There we go. And then if I simply add power to this stretch of road, that should fix our problem. There we go. So I don't know what this is going to do for my industrial demand. Is it going to ruin the whole thing? I'm not quite sure. But I'm just going to start off by rezoning some of this industry. And then we'll start off with that. But like I said, one of my goals for this area is to kind of de-industrialize it. There, all right, that actually doesn't look half bad. And you know what? I think it filled in, like the way that we have things organized now, I think we're able to like kind of fill in the blanks a little bit more. So I think this is gonna be good. Now, the next part of building our bus network is, well, we can simply just start plopping lines everywhere. However, I would like to invest in a small bus station because eventually this is going to be like a full-fledged downtown. And I think if I'm able to squeeze in a little bus station near downtown, that would be pretty useful. So, I guess if I plop one here, then this would be quite useful for Old Town to get all the tourists into Old Town. So I'm going to start by plopping that there. And then that's going to kind of be our central hub to this whole region. And with that, I think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to start plopping down some bus lines. But actually, you know what? First, before we do that, it's probably time we build a taxi depot as well. So I have two options. I have the expensive regular taxi depot, or we have this beautiful small taxi depot that's kind of a little more historic looking. And I think I found the spot for this building. Now, this might be temporary because, as I said, we're just gonna kind of ignore downtown for now because I gotta like rebuild all of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and plop it right here. And what kind of upgrades do we have? We have an extension, we have electric dispatch center. I think this is really worth it. It's very cheap, and this dispatch center basically allows passengers all over the city to be picked up anywhere and dropped off anywhere. So you don't actually need to have like taxi stands. So I'm gonna go ahead and plop this. It is very cheap, may as well go for it. And with our new taxi depot being plopped down, that is the beginnings of our public transit system, without actually being part of the public transit system, as most taxi services are. But anyways, now we're ready to start plopping down some bus stops, and then finally we're gonna connect them all together with some lines in just a moment here. So let's think about this for a second. So first, if we go over Hillside, we have a ton of points of interest. So we have the beach, first of all, and then up here we have kind of a commercial center. We have our elementary school over here, and we have some more commercial spaces over here in Barlow Island. So we have various things that we're definitely going to want to provide some near bus stops for. With the size of the city that we're at right now, I think I'm going to do like a kind of hub and spoke type scenario, with this little bus station here in the center being the center of the entire system. And for now, we're just going to concentrate on this major artery. So I'm going to plop a series of bus stops along this main road, I think, and then we'll have like some little spurs kind of going in each direction. I think I have this planned out in my head. Let's just put this into practice, and then hopefully everything turns out okay. Now, I don't think I want to add any bus stops within Old Town itself. I don't want buses in and out of here. Instead, I have a future plan to build some trams within Old Town. So instead of the buses going through Old Town, I'm going to make them go around it. And let's start by adding some bus stops over here in this neighborhood. And then, of course, do we want to add one within Barlow Island? We probably do. But where is the question? I don't know how I'm going to make this work. I guess here would be fine. I don't think that should impede traffic too bad. Let's start off with that. And then basically let's have our buses go along this main corridor all the way to about here, and then they'll take this little exit and then finally make their way over to the beach. But then I don't necessarily want this to be a loop kind of setup. So let's make the buses. We'll have one stop here. And then maybe another stop right here. And then this line is going to run back on itself. So then I'll add another stop again on Barlow Island. And let's build another one over here before making our way back into this little bus station here. So let's build this very first line. Oh crap, it looks like I'm gonna have to convert this type of road into just a regular 4-lane, I suppose. Just because we're unable to make left turns. Now, would buses normally make a left turn onto like a major artery like this? Probably not. So let's... how can I make this more efficient? I think I'm gonna have to kind of modify this. Let's, can I move this somewhere? Is this gonna cost me a fortune to do? 22,000, not horrible. I guess we're just gonna have to eat the cost because I don't want this to be a big traffic mess. So what I'll do is build a small one-way road going like this. And then that should enable our buses to make a successful left turn at the light. So I'm gonna remove these crosswalks. Oh yeah, and then this should be a bus lane only. Am I able to convert this road? Maybe not. Okay. I guess I'm unable to convert it. So we're just gonna pause real quick. I'm gonna remove it. Yeah, there. Let's do this. And then we're gonna spend another $22,000 moving this little bus station here. Oh, it's only 19,000 this time. Oh my god. There. So now if I scooch this over just a little bit. There we go. So now we've converted this whole front area, which I wasn't really sure what I was gonna do here, into a nice plaza. So maybe we can decorate all of this, the grounds around the bus stop. I think this should be quite nice. There, so let's get our very first line started, and look at that. We can make a very effective left turn now. Absolutely beautiful. So we're gonna add our very first stop over here. Perfect. And then we're basically just gonna run along this main corridor. Awesome. Just look how cooperative the line tool is being right now. And then let's complete this line. There we go. Got our very first line in place already. There. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is try to figure out what our second line is going to be. And on second thought, I think I'm going to leave it at that for this episode, guys, because with the size of the city is right now, I think I'm going to wait until building our second line, because in the very near future, I would love to start to develop this area of the town over here. And that means I'll be extending this Orchard Street here that goes all the way from the southern tip of the beach all the way through this neighborhood that's going to be here. So I'm probably going to want to build a bus route going in this direction here, and then we'll kind of intersect it with this line that we've built. But that is going to come in a future episode. And I'm going to keep an eye on the performance of our brand new line here, but let's at least rename this. So we'll do the, let's call it the Hillside line. And because this is the first line, we're going to keep the color as is. And we're going to lower this down to, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I can have a maximum of 8. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Let's do 4 buses for now. Just because it's the only line in town, we're going to make it as convenient as we possibly can. And there we go. All right. So we have some buses that are already spawning in. They're making their way over to the line. Exactly 4 buses are out and about. And we have a maximum of 25 buses that can be in use. And yeah, so this is really cool. So hopefully we're going to actually start making some money with our bus line. So right now we're in the red by quite a bit. But before long, as more and more people begin to take the bus, we're going to start to see some revenues come in here. And maybe we're going to probably see far less people walking along this main avenue to get to work. I guess, you know, one of the advantages of Oxburgh being so dense and kind of like so close together is that you can pretty much walk everywhere in the city. But with our new and convenient bus network, I'm guessing the amount of walkers is probably going to go down a little bit. And look at that. Our very first passengers are boarding the bus. Wonderful. All right, guys. So let's just skip ahead a little bit. And we're going to just check on the performance of this bus line. And that'll pretty much be it for this episode. And what a productive episode it has been. I'm really loving this little interchange that I've built over here. It's probably going to go through a phase 2 at some point. I'm not really sure how I feel about this interchange. This whole area is going to evolve over time. But it's a good start, and I can't wait to see how it develops as the city grows. So guys, Okay, so it looks like our bus network is making quite a splash. I think demand is far outpacing our capacity, but luckily we can just simply go into our line manager here, and then 343 passengers. Line usage 105%. Okay, wow. Okay, I want to manage my line. There we go. And let's increase the amount of buses. I guess let's just go all the way to 8, because it looks like, you know, we've got hordes of people waiting for buses at this point. Let's just go big or go home. Let's build the best bus network possible. Because if I go over in this part of town, you know, we've got like huge hordes of people waiting for the bus. Oh my god, look at this one. That's crazy. And it looks like it's pretty much dried out the sidewalks. I mean, there's still quite a few people who would rather walk, but there appears to be far less than what there was at the beginning of this episode. That is crazy. Wow. Okay, and I mean, like, look at the lineup of people here at the central station. This is crazy. And it's cool to see, look how, like, everybody's just walking through this pedestrian plaza. This is absolutely fantastic. And here, this little corner here is bugging me. I think if I do this surface, is that gonna match? Oh, look at that. Perfect. We got lucky. There we go. And you know what? I'm really liking our grand entrance into Old Town. We gotta detail up this part of the entrance over here, but we're gonna save that for another time. I'd really like to dedicate an episode to like reconfiguring downtown and, you know, putting in my best work to make downtown look beautiful. But that is coming up in probably not next episode, because I have some other things planned, but pretty soon we'll get into like redoing downtown and making it all look nice and spiffy and up to standards. So guys, that is going to do it this episode. But actually, before I forget, I promised you guys that I would check into our transportation menu just to get a glimpse of how things are working. And look at that, we're collecting $36,000 in fees a month off of one bus line. How much are our tickets? I didn't even check. So let's go here. Let's open up our line. Ticket price, $8. So that just gives you an idea of how much our line is being used. And let's just take a quick look here. I want to see, okay, yeah, look at that. Line usage 55% now that we've doubled the amount of assigned vehicles to this line. So maybe I can consider lowering this to like 6. Because ultimately you want your line usage to be as close to 100 as possible, but you don't want it at 100% all the time, because that means that you know, you just kind of want to balance your supply and demand per line. And of course, this is totally dependent of what time of day it is. And, you know, in your rush hour, of course, you're going to experience a lot higher line usage. But I think let's just see how things perform at 6, and then we'll figure it out as we go along. But I think this is a pretty good start, and we appear to have pretty much cleared our roads. Look at that. There's barely any traffic here now. Wonderful. And this intersection over here is looking all right. We're not seeing any huge lineup of cars, and then the same thing over here. So, guys, I think this was a pretty successful episode, don't you think? I think things are going pretty well. So guys, that is going to do it for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, the huge, drop a like, drop a comment, let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and if you'd like to support the channel further, go check out my Patreon page. Thank you so much to my patrons. You guys are awesome. And with that, thanks again, guys, for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.